guys, we've been joined on the call by none other than the following retrobates. Mighty Paul Maiden, coming from a small town near Wigan. We've also got, well, Tom Holland wasn't with us on episode 1, but you can see that he's had his haircut. You've got a quarantine haircut done there, Tom. You're blending in, and I'm not going to lie, mate, you're blending into the car roof a little bit, but if you were just slightly lower, we'd be able to see the outline of what is, I've got to say, a perfectly formed head. Get that, eh? You do that yourself, Tom?
Yeah, I took about 10 goes, selfie, taking pictures at the back of my head.
Pretty good. Ryan, what do you think of that?
It's not bad. It's becoming the British standard these days. Are you sure that the criminals are down here in Australia? You guys look more like the thugs over there.
Well, we sent the really bad ones to Australia. Tom, you missed this yesterday. I haven't released it yet, so you won't be able to. There was a few comments made. I mean, Ryan, you said that we sent you guys away and then you evolved.
Basically, there was a moment in time where basically Australia surpassed the UK in all sporting pursuits somewhere around 30 years ago, and arm wrestling's just part of that as well.
Yeah, one in my lifetime.
It's happening.
Well, the most famous guy from Australia is Murray McKay, so he's the most decorated athlete you've got.
Well, apart from Danny, obviously.
No, if you ask Murray, that's for sure.
Murray McKay is the only world medalist from Australia.
No, it's not true. Murray loves that claim. Murray always says he's the only one to be on the podium, but Jordan Davis has a bronze medal in the juniors. Murray always forgets about that.
Is Murray in Masters?
Yes.
That's where he Masters.
Yeah,
Grandmaster.
Grandmaster. Seriously old Grandmaster.
Don't start on Murray. Murray's a good lad.
Yeah, he's... we ended up going to a couple of naughty clubs together. Yeah, he's all right, Murray.
Why does that not surprise me, Paul? Why am I not surprised by that? I don't know. I'll tell you what, though, Tom, yesterday, mate, we had this conversation. We started off on the old UK versus Australia thing. There were some rash claims made, on there, not least of which were made by Paul. But Ryan levelled that up a bit by saying that when they got out to Australia, we were jealous of the Aussies because they had better sports, better weather, better land, Tom. Okay, better land. Bearing in mind that if you go to Australia, okay, there's 2 cities that are spot on, those being Melbourne and Brisbane. And outside of that, I mean, Adelaide, it's like quite quiet. If you want a glass of wine and do nothing else, great place to go. Also, COVID-19 has not hit Australia that bad, and that's because they're spaced out massively over that exceptional land. Where if you go swimming in a river, a croc eats you. If you go swimming down by the beach, either a croc or a shark eats you. If you lift up your toilet seat, a massive and potentially deadly spider bites you off, or injects poison into you and you die in a couple of seconds. Or if you go out and muck about in your garden, you're very likely to encounter a snake of some description, which will probably kill you. So I'm not sure whether there's a lot of validity in the claim that we gave them the better land.
Neil, the irony in that is that if we don't keep them there, Mother Nature's trying to keep them on that shitty island. That's the way it is. They only populate 5% of it. Let's be honest, they all live on a beach, they're all bums. Look at the state of him.
Well, I'm going to say, the one thing I'll give the Aussie lads, right? The Aussie lads, they're all really smart in one. Number one, they like sport. You've got to give them that. Number two, they must be clever lads because they all live near the beach. All of them. They're thinking if you get too far from the beach, they get withdrawal symptoms. So they can't have that. Also, they've messed up a bit.
That's a beach today. In winter, it's cold and it's like we're approaching winter and I'm at the beach. That's how good it is down here, lads.
Okay, that's a valid point. He's got one. I'll give him that. Yeah, I'll definitely give him that.
What are we doing with arm wrestling?
So arm wrestling, guys. I knew there was something we were on here to discuss. Arm wrestling. Yesterday, Paul, have you any idea what we finished on? Because I think I cut you off.
I think we finished on the just past the strangling and bumming part. And I think Ryan was saying that he's been competing with Tom's lifts, but then Tom put a video on this morning that absolutely destroyed anything that Ryan's been doing.
I don't know.
Last night's conversation was a really good conversation. I loved where it evolved to. It went down the path of biomechanics, and we're really digging deep into what is valuable in an arm wrestler biomechanically, where are the strengths important. And yeah, and now that Tom's on the court, it's fascinating because I think Tom has a very different set of biomechanical tools than Paul, myself, or yourself, Neil. And yeah, the list that Tom has put out, point that out. So Tom, your 95 kilos, was it? Cupping was picking you up off the ground, and you were still able to contain.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was my lat on my hand weren't opening. It was just my body weight coming over the table. I tried putting a bar across the squat rack to stop the table leaning forward, but instead of the table leaning forward, it was just me coming over it. So I need to get. Do you know, it's been like that for a while. I need to get some weight on a belt. I think if I can get like 40, 50 kilo on a belt just to weigh myself down a bit more. I think 95's definitely achievable. I reckon if I hit it for a couple of weeks, I reckon I could probably do 100.
Which is ridiculous at your body weight.
To be honest, it's something I've never trained. That handle I've never actually dedicated to, trained to or anything. That's just one
You're
thing.
You're just using a country crush, aren't you?
Yeah, just a country crush, the 3-inch handle. Ryan wanted to do the 2.5 inch at first, but I don't have one of them handles. I've only got the 2 or the 3, so.
No, it's typical. Australians always have like a little, about an inch, at least an inch less than the UK equivalent.
Well, no.
The 3-on-1
But
yeah, I surprised myself with that, to be honest. I didn't think I'd do that. I didn't know what a high level is as well, so it's quite surprising to see some of the comments.
Sounds like he's inspired you a little bit, Tom, to be perfectly honest. Some of these crazy lifts that Ryan's been doing.
Yeah, it's curiosity as well to see if it actually works. I mean, Ryan's obviously seen a lot of gains on the weightlifting. The weight's going up on everything he's doing. Mm-hmm. And now with all this going on at the minute, I've got nothing else to do anyway, rather than just train with the cables and stuff like that.
Well, can I give you a word of advice on that, Tom? Because I think there's something you can do, son. What is your current phone provider?
Phone provider?
Yeah. Who do you get your internet through? Because I'm going to tell you now, son, I've done a lot of calls with you, and I can say that you are... I mean, look at Paul now, right? Paul lives in Wigan, right?
I live in Lee, Neil, so I'd stop it if you want this clean.
We'll call it Wigan. But where Paul lives, right, in Wigan, they've only had the wheel for about 2-3 weeks. And yet, look how clear his signal is. Now, I don't know whether you can see you on the screen, but I'll tell you what it is. If you can, well done, because absolutely nobody else can. You're basically, you're like blurry as hell, mate. And you're doing yourself an injustice because, as Paul would tell everybody, you're a pretty good-looking lad.
Well, it's an opinion, isn't it?
So I reckon you get yourself a new provider, get yourself sorted out.
I thought it'd be good at the minute. It's on the laptop, right next to the Wi-Fi box, basically. So I'm not sure. Don't know what's going on.
I think we can be unanimous. We're pretty sure. Ryan, I'll just go around. We'll check. Ryan, grade that picture out of 10.
For me, Paul's a 9.5 out of 10. Neil, you're an 8 out of 10, and Tom's a 4 out of 10.
Oh, shit.
Now, Paul's outside. He's using natural lighting. I'm inside using fake lighting. You are just appalling. That is about as good as that 60 kilo lift.
Oh yeah, that's 60 kilo too.
Let's talk about Tom's 60 kilo lift. Mate, that pronation lift, I'm on your side, right? You'll not find anybody who's more on your side than I am. And I thought that was shite.
Well, that was the thing. I saw that lift on my newsfeed. It went past, and I just looked at it. I didn't comment, didn't like it. But then it kept on popping up on my newsfeed because enough people were commenting on it. So I thought, what are they all saying? I looked on there, and every single one of them was just telling Tom how awesome he was. And I'm like, what the hell, people? This is the most embarrassing lift I've seen. And I said, and my comment was, lucky Tom's a badass on the table and has got cred because this lift is hilariously atrocious.
That's like that time when you were doing the Rolling Thunder when you answered RVJ and you did that was parity, wasn't it? That was like, there's not a lot in it, which was the worst.
See, do you know what the difference is though? I never claimed for it to be a clean lift. I actually said it weren't a clean lift, it was a negative. And I actually said that I couldn't lift it. And I said it's past what I could manage.
I don't know about you, lads, but I got that from the video.
I saw your comment on it, or your status on it, and I could see that you were saying it was a partial stop and a negative.
I'm not saying that was a clean one whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that whatsoever. Not at all.
Yes, but having said that, if you did 95 on the Rolling Thunder today and that was clean, that's phenomenal.
I think, Tom, you should pull that body position you did on that 60. If you can do that on the table, that'll be a new move in itself.
No, that's the thing. I'll do it on the table, but I'll do it from the lower attachment so gravity is against it.
Yeah.
But I had a play yesterday with it. My phone ran out of battery, but I'm confident that I'm going to pick 50 kilo up and down for reps. Doing it, starting on the bicep and pronating it up. I know I can do that 100%. It's just how much more I can do. And
do not go that heavy that you wreck yourself, Tom, because you just got yourself fit again.
Nah, of course, mate. That's the thing. I'm trying not to push myself too much as well. But at the minute, it's never felt so good. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying not to. That's why a lot of it I'm doing at the minute is static rather than actually repetition, because it's the repetition of pronating or supinating that puts pressure on the wrist. So that's why a lot of my work at the minute is quite static. And I feel that just that in itself has helped my strength build up quite a bit, I think, in my hand and wrist especially.
I'd love to ask the question to everyone here. Out of the fundamentals of back pressure, side pressure, wrist flexion, and pronation, what's your priority order for yourself as an arm wrestler?
Who's going first?
Come on, I'll go. I'm going to say flexion, for me personally. Obviously, you've seen my wrist curl, right? We're going to start bigging ourselves up about weights. Soon you'll see mine.
Yeah. Well, I saw your 120 kilo, whatever, wrist curl with a dumbbell. For me, I couldn't imagine just trying to handle a dumbbell like that. I feel like I would injure myself for sure if I even tried to do anything with a dumbbell that heavy.
Yeah, when I started back doing that, to be fair, I'd not done it for years upon years. And when I got back from that match in Malaysia and I got beat by Calvin, there's a few things leading up to that, but I've not done much at that time. And I thought, well, my hand and wrist went, and I wasn't happy about that. So I started doing the old wrist curls back over the knee, that we did back at there. Me and Neil used to do stupid weights back at there. And I thought, well, I'll give them a try. I could do 40 kilo. I thought, oh my God. I mean, I've done like 113 kilo before that prior. That was 2009. I've not really done them since then. So I started plugged on. And by the time end of the year will come in, just before my bicep snapped, I got to 138.5 for a single. And I can tell you now that I know a lot of people don't rate a wrist curl over the knee. I mean, but for me, my hand and wrist now is at that complete, utter elite level. Rest of me might not be, but the hand and wrist is at the elite level. And I think they're just, when I'm wrist curling, the movement's just it's a little flick. It's not a big curl. When I move to the big weight, the momentum pulls the wrist in. But I'm just aiming to be static and just to be able to get that touch of flexion, just to be able to get the control, which is what me and Neil were speaking about yesterday with that little half an inch, 1 inch movement. And I think that applies to the wrist as well. If I can get that before you can get that, that puts me in a dominant position. So for me, flexion.
Okay, I'll go. Yep. For me, flexion, 1. Pronation, stroke, supination, and I'm putting them together, is a 2. So in other words, controlling the plane of the match. Third, back pressure. Lastly, side pressure, and I'll tell you why. Because with the flexion and the controlling of the plane of the match through supination and pronation, I found that I could disable people. This might sound, you might think I'm talking rubbish here. I found that I could, if I had so much superiority in that, in those two areas, I could let people they couldn't engage the power. I could control their hand to such an extent with my superior wrist flexion that they couldn't get into any lane. Just couldn't get into it. And I could feed them arm and bring it. Even guys that were really strong, I could feed them arm, pull them out of it, feed them arm, pull them out of it, move them off the lane. Just, it's a phenomenal weapon.
Can I just jump in there? That's why I think with Ryan, I'm going to do well with Ryan, because you can pull everywhere, Ryan. You're a great top roller. You've got a lot of side pressure, but I do believe at some point you're going to end up like that. And I think that's because my wrist curl will put you in that position. And I think once you're there and I've turned your bicep up, it's good night, Vienna.
Unless he's just much stronger than you.
But he isn't, though, is he? Because he's not elite level. I'm not at that elite level stage yet. Because I'm in my third part of my career. Like I mentioned yesterday, I had the first 10 years of my career, which I was getting to that upper echelon level, and then I had the next 9 years where I never truly believed I could be as strong as I was going to be due to everything what happened, and I used that more of an excuse in my life to limit me, protect what I had as a potential. And it's only since I've been lifting heavier weights than I was doing previous to 2009 when I was at what I consider my peak, that now I've got an extra belief again. So I feel like I'm in a third career. And now I'm aiming just as high as Ryan is or anybody else, because I am getting that strong again. And that's why I believe Ryan isn't so much stronger than me. I believe he could be on a even keel. But I think that's where the superior technique we was talking about of mine, old school arm wrestling, will just be enough to beat him at this moment in time. But, yeah.
So
I'm going to say, for me, fundamentals, my main thing I've relied on the last few years is side pressure. Side and down pressure. I love down pressure a lot from the start. If you can get that control, sorry, go on.
When you say side, are you talking like rotation, or are you talking literal just don't worry about rotation, just jam side?
It all depends. I don't worry about rotation unless I've got to control their hand. If someone's coming inside with me as well, I won't worry about the hand. I'll just be going straight inside. If someone's trying to counter it with a top roll, say if I'm going straight inside and they're countering with a top roll, that's when I start using that hand control coming down, foot controlling the hand that way. But I'll try and wrestle in a way that I'll try and avoid my hand as much as possible recently. But I'm going to change that soon.
No, we had this conversation, Tom, didn't we? And you were saying that you asking me the question, what do I try and do when I'm hooking people, and I'm more hand-based. I'll try and get the flexion to turn and palm up to isolate them, where you're completely different. You're genetic, you'll come forward, you'll almost bypass the wrist curl and put them on bone, won't you? Coming through the body. That's where you are muscle. And then that's where the big 95 kilo lift comes in.
Yeah, especially with someone with say that it's someone like Adrian O'Dwyer, massive hand. Yeah. I can't try. Last year I couldn't do anything about top rolling him. I couldn't get out his hand at all, and I didn't feel like I had the strength at the time because I was still recovering at the time as well. I didn't feel like I had the strength to actually force him inside with that wrist power, so that's why I had to jump. The problem with Adrian was, I think body weight I was lacking in a bit on that match. And I think his arm was a bit stronger than I thought. I needed to take a bit more hand control rather than going so deep in. But I think a lot of it, with me, I use my elbows to direct where my hands go in, hand and wrist. I think elbow movement on the pad is key to landing where you want to be.
You was a master of that, O'Neill, weren't you?
Sorry, mate.
You was a master of that. You know, you're linear, you're everything.
Yeah,
your angles are perfect, wouldn't it?
Bone lining, I think, is essential. I think it's not so much worrying about what your opponent's going to do, but I think if you can take an advantage very early in the match by taking them off their position, and I don't mean in terms of their flexion, I don't mean in terms of their rise, nothing like that really. It's more just literally knocking them outside the shoulder, or even taking them too far towards their own pad, which is another thing that I think is really underutilised, particularly in a strap.
Yeah.
If you can imagine trying to push against, how can I get this, articulate this for you? Okay, imagine you're pushing a car up a hill, and there's an inertia. You've got to get that car moving, so you wind up and you push like hell, and everything goes. Imagine the car then drives off at 5 miles an hour. You're going to fall flat on your face, and your natural instinct is, shit, I'm falling, take the power off. That's what you do. You take the power off quickly. And so I used to do that sometimes with guys. These real power monsters, they'd rev up, they go, and then just move that way. And I find the autopilot would release the power and whoop, gone.
That's the Travis Bajan move, that one, as well. He does the same thing.
So much, mate. And I had massive success with that against so many guys, particularly the guys who want to load and bully you in the setup, If they're trying to really bully you, literally run towards their own path.
Yeah. So the question of which fundamental matters most, is a question that I'm asking myself constantly. And if we're just generalizing, if we're not saying opponent specific, I felt like I arrived in arm wrestling with pronation as my natural best weapon. I still feel like when I do back pressure pronation and I pick up 55 kilos, which I did today, my pronation didn't even feel like it was going. It was just my bicep was limiting, and so I don't know necessarily in a back pressure sense when my pronation will be peeled, but I feel like fundamentals are really up against each other. Like, in a setup, if you have superior back pressure than your opponent, that straight away gives you the control. But if someone's cupping is superior to your back pressure, then that control means fuck all, because they're going to just open you up straight away. And then the combinations with pronation can distract and all that sort of stuff, depending on what your main effort is. But I like back pressure for the fact that it's the only fundamental that you can truly hit no matter what. Regardless of position, like in a load before the go, you can have full access to your back pressure. You can't have full access to those other three. They're there's a bit of, you can fall into a trap, you can make a mistake, you can miss the jump, whatever. So I feel like back pressure is the insurance policy to arm wrestling, to getting into a match. And it's not something that I've actually had. It's actually my biggest deficiency in my fundamentals is back pressure, and I'm trying to change that. But so I feel like back pressure, it's funny I say that because it's my weakness, but I've always been I like what you said, Neil, as well. It's all about disengaging your opponent. I feel like this sport is more about disengaging your opponent than it is about being in your own access. But I don't know. I go back pressure, followed by pronation, followed by cupping, followed by side pressure for me.
Just one point to pick you up on there, mate. Around you saying that you've always got access to your back pressure, but you don't always have access to any of the others.
Well, I just mean prior to the go. Like, in the setup, you can hit your back pressure. You can. Even if but after the match starts, yeah, you can, if someone opens you up and you've got the low position, then your back pressure's gone. You're just dragging and cupping and pronating now. For sure.
But you're more of a lat back pressure guy, aren't you, Ryan? You don't really, you load more like me and Neil will load, concealed from the back, not necessarily from the hammer muscle. So that's why it's interesting, because I'll be like arm wrestling in a bit of a mirror when I arm wrestle you, and I think it's going to be entertaining. It'll be entertaining. I think Neil's exactly the same. You and Neil will be very similar, because we all load from our lats, where I don't think Tom loads so much from his lat to, it'd be interesting.
Well, Tom's got the high ground almost every time because of his long frame. So to load from the lat, his arm angle would have to be so damn low to do that, and that just makes his wrist vulnerable to anyone going high knuckles. But at the same time, I remember when you faced Jana, so I remember thinking, oh man, I don't know if Tom could force Giannis into a hook, because when I'd practiced with Giannis, his back pressure felt so phenomenal, and I was really surprised at how easily you forced him into a hook. So. Yeah.
again, exactly the same thing with Yanis. I weren't forcing him in there. I was jumping to the position and then containing it when it's there. I wasn't too sure at the time if I actually had the strength to contain Yanis and actually force him with power into the hook. Like,
ironically, when you got in there, you did.
And
you just slept on him and let him creep round for the press, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you believe you could have finished that match if you'd have wanted? Was there a time in that pull that you could have finished it?
Yeah. I really believe if I went all out, 100%, hitting just wild at him like I planned to at the start, I think I would have beat him. I don't think he's good under pressure, taking hit after hit, and I think I can do that to him.
When I watched that match back, there was a moment when you'd set the hook and you coiled in, and he went to try and reverse on you, and he extended about half an inch, and you felt it fail.
Yeah.
And as he failed, you sat up and went, go on, try and get through that like that.
Yeah.
If you hadn't have done that, but had worked diligently, not rushed, just put the application on and then edge, you would have definitely got him. Yeah. Because he exposed himself just a little bit. Just a little bit.
The thing is with Yanis, he arm wrestled so clean, like you were saying yesterday. He arm wrestled so clean. I think the blueprint to beat him is almost there with Joseph Levay when they had the match. I mean, they've had a couple, not just the one at WAL in Vegas, the one that they had in Spain. And when Yanis starts, when you do get Tom, like Tom was saying, when you've got them little pushes and little motions constantly attacking Yanis, he does come out of that position and then he becomes vulnerable. And I think that's a possible.
I think not even just Yanis, mate. I think any pure arm wrestler, anybody who's looking to pull in a very clean manner like that, and anybody who's very textbook, which he is, he's a very orthodox arm wrestler. Once they've relinquished a bit of position, and once you can feel, and it's a feeling, you can see it and you can feel it. You think, okay, he missed a beat there. It definitely skipped a beat. And when you feel it skip that beat, you got to gain an inch. If it skips again, gain an inch. Don't try and gain too much, because if you do, you'll come out of your power and a very good puller will gain it back. But what you can't do is sleep on them, and you can't allow them to adjust. And that's just a learning experience for Tom, because you've not pulled many guys, because there isn't many guys to arm wrestle who are that joined up.
Would you have been more confident though, Tom? Would you say you'd have got him if you'd have been on 7x7s instead of having that extra couple of inches?
Yeah. Couple of reasons. For one, it's just that extra couple of inches. And two, I felt like he could sort of sink. I don't know, Ryan, you'd probably be able to say about this. Do you feel more comfortable where you're sinking into the pad? Do you feel like your arm's more down?
When Giannis was backed into a corner against you and he turned and faced defeat, and he lowered his arm and he squished his elbow down into the pad, he was hiding from the fight with you, but he'd set, like, he's a back pressure puller, and he was locked on his back pressure underneath your threat. So you couldn't really threaten him. And down there, his back pressure with that long pad and that squishy pad, he was safe to rest. And then it kind of put the onus on you. And in that position, you couldn't get him. When he was square, you had him at a moment. But Giannis, I pulled with Giannis just on the practice table and experienced him do the same thing. I had him in the control of a hook, and he went to that little position, and the Devon Larratt theory of never fight a losing battle. I think that's what he did. He acknowledged he was losing the battle, and he retreated and set a new defense.
But you know what he's doing at that point? You do know what he's doing there, don't you? He's working on your pride. He's encouraging you to chase.
Yeah.
You're in a position where you've got dominance, and what he's doing, he just sits out of that. As I say, moves back towards your own pad a little bit, takes up a solid position, and encourages that you're going to be silly enough to think, you know what, I can bully you from here, I'm going to go after you. And you go for the finish. And he's waiting for that little bit of exposure. He's waiting for it. He thinks, look, to get that, he's going to have to work very hard, because I can sit there for a second, and he's going to make a slight error. And when he makes that slight error, I'll gain 3 inches back. And that's exactly what he does. He's an exceptional puller.
The thing is, do you know what? There's 2 or 3 mistakes that I actually made on that I look back now and I think. The first match is the very first pull with him. I could have bailed out. He he was starting to get hand control. Even then, before it went in the straps on that first fall, I felt like I could hold his hand there. I felt like he weren't breaking my wrist out. I should have let go. I should have just gone to the straps then, but I was too much pride. I just want to hold on. I'm fighting to the end. I don't care what round it is. I'm not going to give a match up. That was my first mistake. Second mistake, in the second round, I was really confident. He powered through me eventually with that shoulder press. But as it got to the halfway point, I almost not let it go, but I released, because I thought it was on the foul. So I thought he was on the foul, I thought it was the restart. And that's what I was saying to Bart straight after that next match. But he said, no, he got the foul before the setup. He got the foul in the setup. If it was a foul in the match, then it would have been restarted. So that was my second thing that I messed up on. And
what just for clarity, anybody who's missed that, guys, what he's talking about there, he wasn't on a running foul. So the restart only comes on a running foul.
Yeah.
Not a straight foul, which you can't get a running foul before the match has started.
No, that was it. And could have I just counted that foul? And I thought that was classed as the running foul all the way through. Like, even when the match starts as well, I thought it carried on to there, but it doesn't. So that's another thing. I wouldn't have won that match anyway, but I just wish that I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I wish I could have given it a little bit more, tried to the end. Because I tried to the end on the first match, and the second match I didn't really try that much to the end. You know, because I thought I had that extra little chance there. But it's like I said, Giannis is really experienced, he's strong, he knows exactly where he needs to be. But I've learned a lot from that match, and I think next time I come against him, I think I will beat him. In all honesty, as top level as he is, what I need to do, pretty confident.
There's that internet provider again. What about that?
Yeah. It was the one piece of gold Tom was about to say how he was going to beat Giannis, and we missed it.
That's it. We actually have a very, very unique thing that we do in the UK. When one of our top lads like that is going to give away some kind of secret, like a trade secret in arm wrestling,
Rather quickly steps
we quickly clock up the internet signal so that there's no way that he can get that out there, because we know that Raymond's Lipinge and Giannis are making diligent notes. So, cue guys, you're not having that information.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say how I was going to beat him. I just said that I was confident I will beat him. Cause I know what to do with him now. So just because I know now and I felt it, I know what I'm working with. So I'm a lot more confident.
So when's you going to be pulling that scruffy toe rag Jordan Davis?
Well, guys, let's just end this show right there, because we've got a little bit off topic here on this edition of UK and Ireland, but we are going to come back with UK's hopes against the Aussies. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you did like this show, something definitely wrong with you. We will see you back here at some point very, very soon. If you did like the show, share, subscribe, like it, hit the button. I'll just say a big thank you to the guys, even though they're not going to move in the next 5 minutes, and we'll be straight back on the phone. Thank you very much. Paul Maiden joining us. Thank you very much. Ryan for joining us, and Tom, sort out your kid internet, son. And we'll be back very, very soon. Till that time, take it easy, peeps.